So welcome to another up close video. Today's one is for Tonic showcase number 19, which is called Loveable Library, and I think they've done this one in a smaller format because you can see there's extra space left on an A5 magnetic sheet, and the stamp set is A6 rather than A5 in size. So I'm hoping that this will be at a lower price point for you as well. So hopefully this is you know, slightly cheaper than the other showcases that we've seen where you've got a full A5 die set and stamp set as well. I'm not 100% sure if it comes in the packaging, but obviously if you click on the links below and go to the Tonic website, you'll find out exactly, you know, how it comes to you and everything. But this is what I have got to show you, and I absolutely love this die set. This typewriter is so adorable. I've actually titled my sped up video with my 3 typewriter cards to be like adorable typewriters, because they're just so cute and dinky with this gorgeous little typewriter in them, and as well as typewriter kind of themed cards and stuff that you can do. You can add the paper coming out the top of the typewriter, you've got like a fountain pen, you've got books, you've got a pair of folded up glasses which even have the arms of the glasses folded behind the lenses as well, or you can just go with solid lenses and turn them into just like more stylized glasses that maybe a character would wear, or you could turn them into sunglasses or something as well. And you also have this really cool die here which cuts out those kind of holes and like ripped perforated kind of bits of like a notepad paper that you've like ripped out of the spiral. So you've actually got a die that does that for you as well, and not only that, you've also got some extra bits and pieces on your stamp set as well, like a little letter, so you can have like a bundle of letters next to the typewriter. You've got a gorgeous rose. I think florals go really nicely with kind of typewritery book sort of themed things. You also have a lovely quill, you've got 2 bottles of ink, and you've got some ink splashes as well, which create perfect backgrounds to kind of tie in a simplistic kind of look. So I'm filming this video in 2 parts, so past me later on will show you 3, I think I did 3 typewriter themed projects. Might have done a gift tag as well, I can't actually remember, I filmed them quite a while ago now. And then I've got 2 more cards to show you in this one, focusing on more of the stamps with like the quill and the ink bottles, and also focusing on the book dies that you're getting in here as well. So you should have hopefully a lot of inspiration to kind of inspire you of how you might want to use this. But I mean, I don't think you really need it, to be honest, because just this gorgeous typewriter I think is worth getting this showcase. It's just beautiful. I love typewriters, and this one is like the perfect balance of like a really vintage typewriter and a more modern looking one. So I know you can get like modern bright coloured typewriters these days as well, but this one, it gives you that sort of modern look, but if you do it in more of the vintagey colours, you can obviously make it look more like an actual typewriter from like the 40s or 50s or something as well. And I love the little keys as well, the way they've done it. I actually just used the outside portion, so the keys had like disappeared, they weren't there, but you could, if you wanted to, paper piece all those little keys back in to make them look a little bit more three-dimensional, or I think you could actually use those little pins as like drawing pins on a map as well for a different kind of card too. So I think those little fall away elements are really sweet as well. So let's have a proper look through the die set. So I'll just zoom in a little bit further. So firstly, we've got that lovely sort of spiral bound paper that's been ripped off the spiral, sort of a die, but you could actually also use this to create some kind of like flower centre. If you had the kit from a little while ago that had quilled flowers, some of those quilled flowers had sort of like little arms with like circles on as like the stamen portion. These are much larger circles, but you could do some kind of modern funky flower with this as well, using kind of like the waste, because if you were cutting this to be an actual page that's been ripped out of a spiral, you would want to keep this portion of the paper intact as the whole piece, but you would also then have this waste piece that falls away, so you could actually utilise that and turn it into some kind of funky modern looking flower as well for a different project. Or you could just utilise these little shapes as well. If you snipped it off there, it would kind of look like a keyhole actually as well. So you could like cut this out of black make that into a little keyhole piece and stick it on top of a piece that looks like a plate for a door as well, and turn it into like a little keyhole if you wanted to. And this die actually measures just under 5.5 inches, which is about 14.5 centimeters. So it's a decent length die, works perfectly for like A4 folded in half turned into a square card blank, which is usually slightly smaller than a 6x6 sort of card, and also like an A2 card or an A6 card height wise, or an a 5x7 card widthways as well. It would work really nicely, but it's easily extendable as well because these are all equidistant from each other. You can literally like cut it once from your card and then slide it up and slot it in, and then add on however many more you want to cut to make it work for an A5 card, you know, like a portrait A5 card or a portrait 5x7 card, or even a large scrapbook page as well, depending on what size, you know, widthways you wanted to add it onto there, or whether you have one of those large 12x12 die cutting machines. You could actually extend it to be, you know, 12 inches long as well. So a really cute little extra kind of die, and Tonic have done these in the past. I think the first one came out in like I think it was called the Legacy Keeper, that was part of their memory book range, and then they might have brought another one out in another set as well, but they were on a much smaller scale. This actually looks like you have like pulled it out of like you know, an A5 diary or even an A4 lined notebook with a spiral bound as well. So this is more in theme with like real sized stationery kind of products, I suppose. So a slightly larger version than what you might have already had in your stash. And it doesn't have to just be used vertically on a piece of paper that's sort of been ripped out or something. It could also be used along the top, because you know you can get jotter notepads or shopping list notepads where the ring bound is at the top. And actually, talking of that, if you have a spiral bound notebook that has rings that are this distance apart from each other, you could actually use this to maybe cut something slightly thicker, whatever your machine could handle, and create like dividers to actually put into your notebooks as well, because you could actually pop these back onto a spiral bound book as well. So have a play with that if you want to sort of create, I think they call them dashboards when you do that in diaries and stuff, or you can just sort of like divide up a sketchbook or a notebook and turn it into more of like a project book with the different dividers in it. So you could definitely have a play with doing that with this kind of a die as well. Then let's go on to my favourite one next. So the Typewriter is my absolute favourite die, and it's in multiple different parts as well. So firstly, you get the bubble. So this works great if you want to turn it into a gift tag, or if you want to put it on the front of a card and maybe make it removable, so it could be a magnet for the fridge or something, or for a notice board as well. You could actually do it as like a typewriter that you could take off, or you could use this to cut an aperture into your card and then have sort of like a shaker behind your typewriter as well. That would be another cool way of using it. And you could even then, when you do the keyboard for it, you could actually take this die and cut this as an aperture and then stick these little ones back on, so you'd have stuff shaking behind the keys of the typewriter as well if you wanted to. There's multiple ways of utilising a bubble die like this. And or also if you wanted to like paper piece back in some of these pieces, or you know, like replace the keyboard back onto there or something, having that backing piece means you don't have to like fussy cut a piece to go behind it, and you could then actually raise the whole element up on 3D foam if you wanted to as well. So it's nice and versatile having that bubble to go around it. And then this is the main typewriter die. So this will give you sort of like the main circular portion that your paper goes in and round. You've got the little knobs on either end. You've got the little bar that you push to go back to the first bit of the page. You've got this kind of portion, which, you know, on a real typewriter, this is the bits that lead down to the keys and then they flip up and hit the paper up here. But they've kind of stylized it a bit so it's not so complicated of a die. And then this whole bottom portion will cut out solid for you, but you have this die as well. So if you wanted to turn it into some sort of more of a frame design for whatever reason, you have got that die, so you could cut that section out of it. But I think the main reason to give you that extra die like that is so that you can then use it with the keys to create a keyboard that then cuts out and you can stick onto that solid portion that will be left there and do it in a different colour, contrasting colour, or actually if you wanted to, again, for like whatever kind of reason you might want to do it, you could cut this out, create the aperture there and then put the keys behind as well, if that's something that you would rather do as well, or even cut that aperture out and then cut this and then inlay it back into there too. There's multiple different ways of doing it. I think on all of mine I cut this out separately and then stuck that on top, and I think I backed it with the colour that I wanted the keys to show through, so that's why they've given this to you separately as well, because you can then cut the same shape from another colour, like a metallic colour, to then stick behind to show all of the little keys off as well, and you also have the space bar in there too. Obviously there's not as many keys as would be on a QWERTY keyboard, but it's just a lovely little cute, adorable, stylised kind of typewriter for your projects. And actually on mine as well, which I've probably pointed out in the clip I've already filmed, I actually like snipped off part of these. I think I cut all of the typewriters in metallic and then in a colour, and I shadowed them together, but I snipped off part of them so that some of them had like silver bits showing. I know technically all of this portion would be silver, or actually no, the one that I have is black, but some of this would be kind of like a metally colour because of the keys coming down and stuff, so it's definitely more of a stylised kind of a typewriter, but it does look really, really adorable. And you also get the piece of paper to go in here as well, which I don't know which way up it is supposed to go. I have a feeling I said this, I actually remember saying it now, but I wasn't sure whether this was supposed to be the bottom and then you could do some kind of interactive card and that would stop it from pulling out of the slot of it, but that doesn't actually work. So I'm thinking that it is supposed to go this way up, and then this is supposed to give the look like it's you know, a long A4 piece of paper that's flipping over at the top, you know, sort of folding backwards on itself. And on my typewriter ones that I'll show you later, I did actually like colour it to look like that as well, so I gave a little bit of shadow to those little bits hanging over the edge as well. But I thought it's a nice different kind of look, actually, not just giving you a piece of paper. They've actually thought about like the, I don't know, gravity of the back of the piece of paper flopping over and stuff. So I think that's a really lovely extra kind of aspect to it. So that's the gorgeous typewriter, which you're getting in here. Then let's go through the glasses, because I really love the glasses as well. So again, for the glasses, you're getting the bubble, so that gives you loads of different options of paper piecing, raising it up on 3D foam, creating a shaker behind it, all sorts of different things. So you've got the gorgeous little glasses bubble. Then you have got the main glasses frames. Now, if you didn't want the next dies that I'm going to show you, you might have to or want to snip off these portions when you've cut this. If you're just turning these into normal glasses that might be worn by a character, so you don't want to see the arms folded behind the lenses, this is basically the end of the arm that goes behind, so you can just snip that off if you just want it to be a frame, and then you can use these two dies. You get one for each of the lenses because they're slightly different shapes. And then you can just turn that into a pair of glasses. You could turn this into sunglasses and use these solid portions to cut out the black piece to go behind. You could use different effect acetates behind there as well to give, like, you know, blue light looking glasses, or maybe even actually like solar eclipse glasses, or 3D glasses. I don't know if they still sell those ones that used to have a red lens and a blue lens. I presume they do. But you could turn them into something like that and use different coloured acetates behind them to give that kind of a look as well. But the thing that I love about this little glasses set are these two dies, because they're just so clever. I don't think I've ever seen a glasses die where you can actually do both. Or even, I don't think I've ever seen one that actually has the arms of the glasses folded behind it. So the way you can do this is you cut all of these together like this, and it actually looks like the glasses arms are folded behind the lenses. So, you know, obviously glasses have clear lenses, so you can see the arms folded behind them, and it even actually gives you the notches here, so they've got the little nose bits on them as well. Better move them before I lose them. I've got one cut out here actually that I can show you as well, and I kind of just, oh, you can't really tell on the camera, I kind of varied the colouring so that the arms are slightly darker, but you can see that looks so cool, especially for reading glasses to go with a book or a library kind of theme like we've got in this little showcase. Having a pair of reading glasses to go with it works really nicely. And you do also have these little holes up here, which depending on who you're making this for, whether it's sort of more masculine, more feminine, you could put a gem or a Nouveau drop or something on those little holes as well, or you could cut them from a different colour and paper piece the other colour back in as well. So I really love these little glasses. I think they're just so cute, and the fact that you can do both with them as well is just really clever. And you can actually utilise this piece if you want to. I'm not 100% sure how you'd stick it down without seeing the adhesive, but I'm sure you could figure it out in some way. But you could do something with these solid lenses to add that acetate kind of look over here, so it looks like it's got glass in it. Or I suppose you could use the Nouveau crystal accents and add it over the top as well. You know, stick these down flat onto wherever you want them, and then add your crystal glaze in that area and even over the top of the legs, so it looks like there's glass over the top of them as well. I'm sure there's loads of different ways of using those gorgeous glasses. Then we also have two little word dies in here as well. So we've got this one that says love, and they're in more of a stencil font, so that when you cut them, what is left in the card is kind of the actual sentiment. But both of them, you can actually use the fall away pieces and stick them down individually to make your sentiment as well. So you can use the positive and the negative basically of these sentiments. So you've got love, and then you've got hi with an exclamation mark as well, so it goes up that way with an exclamation mark. And I think you could actually use the outside of these books and put them in there as well. And you could probably even get both words next to each other actually and do hi love. But yeah, you can actually use these as your little rectangle and then trim them down to size as well if you want to. Or you can just use your scissors to trim around them, use them in a shape that you might have from another set as well. Or cut them straight into the paper for the typewriter. You could do that too. Then we have 4 different books. I did only use 3 of them because the idea that I was doing didn't really require seeing the top of a book, but you've got 3 different spines for books. So you've got like a really tall skinny book, and then the interior piece that you can use has 2 little kind of squares in them to sort of be that little marker at the top and bottom of a book. You've got this gorgeous one that's got like some debossing detail in there, a little diamond in the centre, and then the 2 little marks up and down. And then you've got this one as well, which just has the 1 little rectangle. It's much shorter book, and they're all different widths from each other as well, and it's got a little bit of debossing detail too. And then this one actually gives you the top view of a book. So depending what project you're doing, whether you've got like a stack of books, whether you're doing a bookcase for a library kind of thing, whether it's like a floor to ceiling kind of bookcase or it's just a bookshelf or something, whatever kind of layout you want to use for your books, you can actually alternate the spines or looking at the actual end of the book as well. So that is kind of emulating the cover coming round and then the sort of stylized sort of pages in the centre of the book as well. And then the final 2 dies, I showed you the fountain pen, didn't I? I think I did. That's the fountain pen that you could cut that out of multiple different colours and snip the bits off if you wanted to add like the gold detail around the lid of the pen, or the gold or silver metal nib to it as well. And then this one is really lovely, a little bit of foliage, works really nicely with the stamped rose as well if you want to bring some more foliage onto your card. And then the final one, I wasn't 100% sure what this one was supposed to be. I mean, I guess it could be something to do with books. Maybe it's some kind of like bookmark clip or something that you could show. Or maybe it could be something to do with the typewriter. But what in the end I decided that I thought it was supposed to be is the nib for a quill. So I actually used it on my card on top of the bottom of the stamped quill, but I also think if you have those small you know, like kids craft feathers where you get multicoloured ones in a little packet, you could actually use a real feather to make your quill and then cut this out of metallic card and stick it to the end of it. I think that is what this one is supposed to be for, but do comment below if you think it's supposed to be something else, but I think that's what it's supposed to be for. But yeah, overall, really lovely die set, and it's a lovely little sort of jam-packed die set as well, actually, considering it's smaller than A5. It's really jam-packed full of different occasions that you could do as well. I mean, it could be somebody who's just read their first book at infant school or junior school or something, or it could be somebody who's graduated from a degree or a doctorate. You know, books can be used for any age group. Glasses, again, it could be somebody who's been reading for years and, you know, their glasses are a quirky feature about them, and you could colour them to be whatever kind of funky lenses or frames that they have. Or it could be for somebody who's got their first pair of glasses. You could do a card for them like that. And with typewriters, it can be somebody who had a typewriter when they were younger and are much older now, or it could be somebody who you know, like used to play with their grandparents' old typewriters, or somebody who loves that retro theme and is younger but just got one of the modern looking typewriters as well, you know. So that it can be for so many different kind of categories of people too, which is nice. So I think it's a lovely little versatile one, and it just makes some really cute little project as well. So that is all of the dies, and then we've also got the little A6 stamp set in here as well. So first stamp here has got a little letter, which could be a bundle of letters because it's got the string tied around it, and it says "to my friend," and then it's got like a squiggly little postmark on there, and it's also got a little stamp with the Queen's head on it as well, which I think is a nice touch. I think on my card I coloured them with red and blue stamps, so it was like first class, second class as well. Then we also have that gorgeous rose, really pretty rose actually, and works really nicely with the typewriters. I don't know why florals and typewriters go well together, but in my head they always do go nicely together. And then we've got lovely little ink splashes, so because we've got the quill and the bottles of ink, and also fountain pen die on the die set, we've got lots of little like squiggles of ink, so it looks like something's been drawing, or you've got the splashes of ink, so it looks like I don't know, the pen's been splattering, or you've dropped your quill and made a little mess or something, and you've got like larger ink splodges as well. So you've got lovely little ones like that that can be in black ink, or you can do them in any colour. You can do lots of different colours and all over a background just to create an inky, splashy, looky background. Or maybe you love the look of splashes on your card, but you're never confident enough to splatter straight onto your card, or maybe you can never get it to hit the card in the place that you want it to. You've got some little stamps there that, you know, can give you that kind of look without having to splash ink all over the place. And then finally we've got a gorgeous quill and 2 ink bottles as well, which are kind of they look vintage but they're in a modern style, which I really like. So this one's kind of got more of like curved shoulders, and this one's more of like a square bottle. I think this one looks more like a traditional ink bottle, but I suppose they are. No, they're both kind of ink bottle shapes. But yeah, you could use them for different things as well, like flowers coming out of them. You could put these, maybe stamp 2 or 3 of the roses and have them on stalks coming out of there as well, as like a small little vase too. Or you can use them as your ink quill bottles too, and they don't say anything on their labels, so you can label them to be absolutely anything that you want them to be as well. I wasn't sure what to write on the labels for mine, so I put special ink and magic ink, but you could always also write like invisible ink as well, any kind of, you know, or funny little sentiment or something too you could do. Maybe if somebody, you know, I don't know if you do it so much when you're writing with a quill, but you know when you're painting and you accidentally put your paintbrush in your cup of tea or something, you could, you know, do something funny like that and write cup of tea on one of the bottles or something. And then, as well as all of those little elements that you've also got multiple different sentiments that go along with that typewriter kind of theme as well, and they'll fit really nicely onto the piece of paper that goes in the typewriter. So we've got "You're just my type," just a note, and then "to say hello," and then you've got "I love you more than words can say," and then "a true love story" as well. So you've got a nice little selection of sentiments on there as well, and just because you've got that "just a note to say," you can then switch that out for any kind of sentiment as well from your stash. You could do hello, or thank you, or happy birthday, or all sorts of occasions. So yeah, I think this is a really lovely showcase. So I will be back in 1 second to show you the 2 extra samples that I've done. Okay, so the first of my 2 extra samples is showing how to use the quill and like the little ink bottles as well, and a kind of composition that you might want to put them in too. So, and I've also used the Just a Note to Say and then Hello, but I've done it in a sort of typographical kind of layout to kind of give it a different sort of look as well. So I thought that was quite a different kind of idea of how you could lay out your sentiments, especially because they look kind of like a typewriter font to go with the typewriter, but on this card I wasn't using the typewriter, so it's quite nice to put them in a different layout as well to make it more of like a block sentiment rather than little strips as well. Unless, I mean, if you wanted to do the little strips, they'd look really nice on this card as well, but I just wanted to show how you could actually combine them into more of like a larger looking sentiment too. Then for the quill or the feather on this one, I have actually layered them up. So I stamped it first straight onto there, and then I stamped it again, cut around it right up to the black lines, and then just kind of scored down the middle to sort of make the side bits pop up a little bit, just to give it a little bit of dimension and make it look like a fluffier 3D kind of feather. And it also made it so that it would overlap over the top of the sentiment as well, which I thought was nice because it kind of ties it into the card and makes it not look like it's floating so much, because it's sort of part of the actual composition. And then on the bottom of that one I have stuck that little die, which I think is what it's supposed to be, like the little quill or the writing nib for the end of the quill. And then I've done 2 of the little bottles there, and I masked one off, so I've got that sort of perspective of one being behind the other as well. And I had also stamped some of the ink splashes on here too, and this one I made overlap the jar, but then I decided, well, maybe it would be nice to sort of raise up the label on this one as well, so then I just stamped another one, cut the label out and put it over the top. It's also a great way of, if you've messed up what you've written on it or decided you don't like what you've written on the label, you can then just cut another one out and stick it over the top as well. And in some places here I actually drew in extra ink splodges in little hearts as well, just to sort of give it an extra quirky kind of element too. And I also did a little bit of glitter onto the ink, the black ink splodges as well, and I've written magic ink and special ink on the little bottles, and then I've used some sequins scattered in the background to kind of finish it off and tie the colour across the card. I kept the sequins out. Where did I put them? Ah, here. They are the Tropical Oasis sequins, and they're in 3 different sizes in there, so they're really nice for scattering across your card. And then to fill in the centres of them, I used the Aquatic Mist. I think it was Aquatic Mist. Could be Sunlit Meadow actually. Nouveau drop, just to do the little drops in the centres of them as well. So that was the first extra card. And then the second extra card, it's not quite finished, because you have the sentiment, I love you more than words can say, but if you do like a little Dymo label or something, I was thinking you could actually cover that up and do thank you more than words can say as well, to turn it into a thank you card, because I was thinking of sending this one to my nan, and because she loves reading, I was thinking of writing her favourite author's name on a couple of the spines of the books as well, and I did it in colours that she would like too, but it does look quite masculine kind of a card, so I was thinking maybe stamping some of those roses out and adding them on top of here, or maybe finding a little character like a little chubby mouse or something and putting a little mouse sitting on here would make it a little bit cuter and funnier as well. But I just wanted to show how just like simply taking I mean, this could be a stamped sentiment that you've trimmed out into a little banner, and adding it over the top of a pre-done sentiment can just, you know, completely change the theme of the card. I thought I'd just share that with you of how I might be changing this card. But the way I did this one is I wanted to show how you can use the books on a bookshelf. Obviously you could make your own bookcase as well and do this in more like old library kind of colours for, you know, historical kind of books, or like volumes of something where they're all the same colour, you know, like in those dark reds and greens and stuff. But I went for the funky colours because I was thinking of doing this one for my nan. And all I did to create the little shelf was I just cut a piece of card, I think it's maybe about 6 or 7 millimetres wide, chose the length that I wanted, snipped it off there, then used the excess just to make 2 little brackets to go underneath it. And then for the sentiment, I wanted a little like picture frame to surround the sentiment, to tie the rest of the wood in, you know, across the card, and to kind of just frame the sentiment so it's not just sort of floating there, although it would look fine just floating there as well. But I thought if it's a bookshelf, you've usually got some kind of photo on the wall or on the shelf actually. So to create the little sort of mitered frame, all I did was again cut a few strips of card. This was maybe about 4mm wide. I wasn't measuring, I was just eyeballing, but I think it's maybe about 4mm wide. And I just cut them at what I thought was roughly kind of like a 45-degree angle. I just cut one that way, one that way, took another piece of the card and then stuck them both like perpendicular as much as I could get them to that, and then trimmed off the excess above and below, and then just went over to this side and trimmed those two off at angles as well, and then stuck another piece on. It's not 100% square, it's a little bit off and a little bit wonky, but you might have a die in your stash that can create a little frame like that as well. But I just wanted to do something to kind of tie the wood from the bookcase or the bookshelf into the card as well. So I thought it was another cute little idea, and I definitely think adding a little character on there will be really adorable as well. And I definitely think you can change that into a thank you card as well, just putting thank you over there too. So those are the 2 extra cards that I have done, and I will pass you back to, well, I will pass you on to past me to show you the 3 typewriter kind of cards that I've already made as well. So these are the 3 samples that I've already done that will be in my sped up video, and I couldn't resist just using this typewriter in 3 different colours. I love this typewriter so much. I've probably already been telling you that as well. But I wanted to start with a traditional typewriter, so just the generic black kind of colour, but I wanted to change it up a little bit, so I've added the keypad kind of part in a black glitter card, just to make it look a little bit like extra special and it catches the light. And I also cut all of my typewriters from silver and from the colour, and then snipped away parts of it so that you've got like the silver hardware, and then I shadowed the rest of it with the silver. I know with like a traditional typewriter this bit is black and I've left it the colour on the other 2, but you know, if you have a coloured one, maybe it is coloured, I'm not sure. But and usually the paper wraps around the front of this, I think, and then it has the little metal bar that goes across the front, so it's not 100% of an accurate typewriter, but you obviously know that that's a typewriter looking at it. And then also with the little pages that come out of the top, I wasn't sure which way up they went. First I thought maybe they went the other way up, and these 2 little notches were to like hold it in or something, and you could do an interactive card with it, but then I kind of thought the other way up the paper looked peculiar coming out the top of it, so I think it's supposed to be a piece of paper that's kind of flopped over at the top, because that's how it always kind of goes in a typewriter. So I've just coloured them to be slightly darker on those little corners, so it looks like a shadow of the paper sort of flopping over. And on this one I did put 3 pages in to make it a little bit fuller. The other 2 that I'll show you I've only got 1 in, but I thought 3 pages just gives it a nice kind of full sort of a look. And this one I kept very monochrome so that that black typewriter really stands out nicely, and so all I did was add 2 of the little letters at the bottom that say "to my friend" on them. I did one with a 2nd class stamp and one with a 1st class stamp with the blue and the red. I've added some of the little splashes in the background. I love those splashes. I'm sure I've probably used them on some other samples that you will have hopefully seen earlier as well. And then to tie the red in from the postage stamp and the postmark, I've used some of those cherry heart gems from Nuvo as well, because I just love those, and they just add that gorgeous pop of red and a little bit of glistening kind of effect as well that goes with the glitter card. So that is my first card, and then I wanted to try doing a gift tag as well, because you actually get the bubble that goes around the typewriter. You don't get it for the piece of paper, and I was going to actually stick this onto something else and cut around it so you had the bubble for the piece of paper as well, but I think it looks fine as it is, just having the bubble on the bottom half of it and then having the paper sticking out the top. So this one I decided to go for a gorgeous pink typewriter, and I've used some, I think it's called Diffused Violet Pearlescent card as the sort of keypad on this one, and again putting the silver behind it as well. You could also paper piece those little keys back in, and it would probably give them a slightly more three-dimensional look because they'd have a little bit of beveling on them from the die cutting. So you could definitely paper piece them back in if you'd rather, but I just felt like I was making 3 cards in one video and there's a lot of little keys on there, so I did the cheats way and just cut the silver and put it behind it, and I've layered it up exactly the same way as the black one, snipping away the same parts. I mean, on an actual typewriter this is probably just the silver, but I just felt like it ties the colour in nicely if you just snip that little extra bit off and stick it on top of there as well. Then this one I just stamped a CRaFTi stamp on the piece of paper, and I added the sentiment separately, and this is actually the spine of one of the books. So you get loads of little dies to create books in the die set, and this is the spine of one of them, and it fits the word hello perfectly. So I just done that and then matted it on the same Pearlescent card that I've used down here, and then all I did was punch a hole in the corner, put some baker's twine on it to make it a little gift tag to go on a present, and then I've just added a few pink sequins on there as well to sort of tie the pink across the rest of it too. So I really like it as a little gift tag. It works really nicely, and you could have this as a removable element on the front of a card as well, and it could be a little decoration rather than a gift tag too. So you know, think about this card, do some kind of little mechanism for you to just be able to pull it off, and then you could use it as a decoration. And then the final one, I wanted to use that gorgeous sort of, I don't know what you call it, page edge kind of a die, so it looks like it's either been in one of those bound planners or it's been in a notebook and you've ripped it out. So obviously I had to cut it from graph paper to make it look like it was from a graph paper notebook, and I just love graph paper as well because it's that slightly off-white colour, the stuff that I have, so it kind of just adds in that extra like neutral tone to the background, which I like. And then for this one I decided to go for a blue typewriter, and instead of putting the silver behind the keys I put the I think it's called Marina Mist, I think, the iridescent rainbowy kind of mirror card behind there, and I also cut the glasses out with that as well. And isn't that glasses die just so clever? It's just really clever the way that you've got the arms crossed inside the lenses, but you also have the dies that just cut the lenses out as well, so you could turn them into a pair of glasses that's a character or a die cut character or a stamped character or anything could wear. You could even anthropomorphize the typewriter and put the glasses on the typewriter as well, or you can just use the normal lenses to turn them into sunglasses rather than like reading glasses as well. Or you could even cut out bits of acetate and put them in so it looks like they've got lenses in them too. Then I've used a little bit of the foliage as well because I thought why not, you know, show a way of adding the foliage to the typewriter too. And then I finished off with 3 of those gorgeous roses from the stamp set. Really pretty rose, I really like that. And I love that it's got the 2 leaves attached to it as well. So I've just coloured 3 of them and added them across the card. And then I finished it off with a few sequins as well. They're all the same size, these ones, so some of them I sort of tucked behind different areas, so it's not so obvious that they're all the same size. But yeah, I really love how that one turned out. I think they're just so gorgeous, and the fact that you get a few sentiments that go along with like the punny typewriter kind of theme as well, I think is really nice. And but you could definitely just put happy birthday or thank you or something on there as well. It doesn't have to be a typewritery kind of theme. But there you go, those are the 3 cards that will be in my sped up video, and I will pass you back to future me to finish off the video. So I hope you enjoyed those extra typewriter cards as well, and I hope you enjoyed just seeing a few different ideas in this video and a good up close look at the dies and stamps, and thank you so much for watching to the end as well. And if you're interested in getting hold of this showcase, there will be affiliate links in the description box below the video and on my blog post as well. So I hope you enjoyed the video, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you again in the next one. Bye!